At the company holiday party, my manager slurred into the microphone, "Let's give a hand to our little office pet, always fetching coffee but never good enough for a real promotion." Everyone laughed as he imitated me dropping papers. When I quietly slipped out, he yelled, "Oh come on, where's my favorite assistant going? Scared of a little truth?" I just smiled, walked to HR first thing Monday morning, and watched as his world started to crumble. I'm going to tell you about the moment I stopped being the quiet, dependable office assistant and became the person who ended my manager's career, and almost his marriage. My name doesn't matter. But for 6 years, I was the one who made sure things ran smooth at a mid-sized marketing firm in Fort Worth, Texas. I was never late. I stayed late. I brought in donuts, remembered birthdays, filled in when others quit. I was good at my job. But I was never seen as more than the assistant. Especially by Wade Haskins. Wade had been there longer than I had. He was good at kissing up and shoving down. The type to smile with his teeth while slipping in insults like knives. At first, I thought maybe I was being too sensitive. But over time, the pattern became clear. Whenever I tried to suggest something in a meeting, he'd cut me off. If someone praised my work, he'd remind them I just followed instructions. He once told me, in front of a group, "You're like an office plant. Always there. Just part of the background." That was Wade. Smiling while he slowly made you feel small. But I still did my job. Because I needed it. I was supporting my mom back home and had bills of my own. I thought maybe if I stayed long enough, I'd move up. I learned programs outside my role. Helped with small marketing tasks. But whenever I asked about a promotion, Wade would just laugh and say something like, "Maybe next year. If we ever need a head coffee fetcher." Still, I smiled. I nodded. I swallowed it. But I didn't forget. And over the last year, I started collecting things. I kept a folder. Not digital. Physical. Notes. Emails. Printouts. I recorded dates and meetings where he crossed the line. I printed out messages where he took credit for my work. There were even a few where he sent me off-hours emails asking me to pick up dry cleaning or buy gifts for his wife and label them from him. All against company policy. At the time, I didn't know exactly what I'd do with it. I just knew that someday, if the chance came, I'd be ready. The chance came at the company holiday party. It was a big event. Rented banquet hall, white tablecloths, expensive catering. Wade showed up already tipsy, laughing loud, telling the receptionist she looked better than she had a right to in that dress. She looked uncomfortable. I made a mental note of it. I stayed sober. I never drank at company events. Not because I'm a prude, but because I knew people showed their real selves after a few drinks. And Wade? He drank like he had something to prove. Midway through the party, people started giving speeches. The CEO, a few partners, then Wade stumbled up to the microphone. He swayed a little, holding a half-empty glass, eyes glassy but still sharp enough to be dangerous. "I want to give a shout-out to the real hero of our team," he paused, grinning. "Our little office pet." People laughed. Not the whole room, but enough. Enough to make it sting. He pointed at me. "Always fetching coffee, always running around. Never quite good enough for a real promotion, but hey, we love her, right?" More laughs. He waved his hand like he was pretending to fumble papers. "Oops. Don't drop the reports again." I felt my face go cold. Not hot, cold. Like something inside me froze. I didn't say anything. I didn't cry. I didn't even blink. I just stood up from my chair at the back, grabbed my coat, and started walking out. And that's when he did it. He leaned into the mic and said, "Oh come on, where's my favorite assistant going? Scared of a little truth?" That moment, it split something inside me. I turned back, just once. And I smiled. Because I knew something Wade didn't. He thought I was walking away in shame. But I was walking towards something. I had a plan. I'd been preparing for this without even realizing it. And Monday morning, I went straight to HR. I didn't go to my desk that Monday. I walked straight past it, folder in hand, and knocked on HR's door before they even had their coats off. Janice, head of HR, looked surprised to see me. "Everything okay?" she asked. I didn't sit. I just said, "I need to report workplace misconduct. Ongoing. Harassment, policy violations." "And what happened at the holiday party?" Her face changed instantly. "Come in," she said, and closed the door behind me. I opened the folder and started laying it out. Not just the holiday party, but everything. Emails. Notes. Photos of Wade's inappropriate gifts for his wife I had to buy on the company card. I showed her an email where he told me to mark a 2-hour golf outing as a client meeting. That one hit hard. Our company had been hit before with misuse of company funds. Janice asked if I was comfortable making a formal complaint. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Absolutely." She told me they would investigate immediately and that I should keep this confidential. I nodded, but inside, I was already planning my next move. What I didn't tell HR right away was that I had another angle. See, Wade wasn't just careless. He was arrogant. So arrogant that he sometimes copied me on things he shouldn't have. Internal emails, client documents, even messages about budget reallocations that didn't make sense. I'd been keeping a separate folder. One that had some very questionable attachments. I didn't take them to HR yet because I wasn't sure what I had, only that something smelled off. So that night, I started digging. I went back through old emails. I compared travel reports. I checked meeting logs against his expense reports. And that's when I found it. Wade had been submitting travel expenses for meetings that didn't exist. Whole client meetings that were never on the calendar. Lunches with made-up names. Over $12,000 in just 1 year. I cross-checked it all. I built a timeline. Then I printed that too. Quietly. After hours. No one saw. Meanwhile, the fallout from the party hit fast. Janice pulled in several employees who were at the event. She talked to the receptionist Wade had made uncomfortable. Apparently, it wasn't the first time. One woman from accounting admitted she'd quit a project last year because of Wade's demeaning behavior. By Friday, Wade was called into a mandatory meeting. He walked past my desk with a cocky smirk. "Hey superstar," he whispered, "that little stunt of yours didn't work. They love me." I didn't reply. I just smiled again. Because I knew what HR didn't know yet. I had one more card to play. On Monday, I asked for another meeting with Janice. This time, I handed her the second folder. She didn't speak for a while after flipping through it. Then she said, "This is very serious." I nodded. "It's theft. Company fraud." Her jaw tightened. "Do you realize what you're accusing him of?" I looked her straight in the eye again. "No. I'm not accusing. I'm showing you proof." She thanked me and said she'd escalate it to legal and compliance immediately. That night, I went home and slept like a rock. The next day, Wade didn't come in. Rumors flew, but no one knew for sure what was happening. All I knew was that someone from corporate HR flew in from Chicago. That only happened when it was bad. Then Thursday hit. And that's when things blew up. Wade was walked out. Not fired yet, but placed on leave pending investigation. He didn't look at anyone as he left. He didn't even pack up his desk, just his laptop and his phone, handed in to IT. I watched from the break room. I didn't say a word. But that wasn't the end. Because Wade had more secrets. Secrets I didn't even know I was about to uncover. A week after Wade was escorted out, things got weird. HR told me the investigation would take time. They asked me not to talk to anyone about it, and I agreed. But I could feel the office shifting. People who used to ignore me were suddenly polite. Some avoided me completely. Then one afternoon, as I was getting coffee in the break room, Jordan from IT cornered me. He looked nervous. "Hey, just so you know." Wade's laptop had a lot more than they expected. I frowned. "What do you mean?" Jordan leaned in. I shouldn't even say anything. But he wasn't just cooking expenses. There were weird folders. Password-protected stuff. Encrypted drives. He paused. "Legal's involved now. Real legal. From corporate. And they're not just looking at him." I froze. "What?" "Someone else was approving those expense reports," he said. "Compliance is trying to figure out who." My stomach dropped. Because that meant someone above Wade, someone in leadership, had been signing off without reading, or worse, was in on it. That night, I stayed late again. I went through my records, looking at who signed off Wade's reimbursements. It was always the same person, Lyle Granger, our VP of Operations. He was untouchable. He barely spoke to anyone below management level. Slick hair, expensive watches, always on his phone. I never had a real conversation with him, just saw him nod at Wade sometimes like they shared some inside joke. The next morning, I walked into HR again. I showed Janice what I found. How every shady expense had been approved by Lyle. I even showed how Lyle once replied approved. Don't ask me again on a $3,000 client dinner that had no matching client file. Janice looked pale. "This could go above all of us," she said quietly. By the end of that week, Lyle stopped showing up too. No emails, no calls. His office door stayed shut. Then rumors really started flying. People whispered about FBI involvement. Company credit cards being frozen. Clients being quietly informed about an internal audit. And one afternoon, Janice called me into her office with two people I'd never met, legal counsel from corporate. They thanked me for my records. Said I'd helped uncover not just misconduct, but a fraud ring involving at least 3 employees. Wade. Lyle. And a third, someone from finance. Someone I knew. Marcy. She was the sweet older woman who always brought muffins and wore big cardigans. She'd been helping Wade with his expense reports. She said she was just processing what he gave her. But now it looked like she'd been deliberately hiding the paper trail. For a cut. A few days later, Marcy was gone too. Just disappeared. No goodbye, no notice. Her desk was cleaned out by security. I should have felt satisfied. I should have felt powerful. But what I really felt was this deep, quiet rage. Because these 3 had been helping each other for years, propping each other up, taking credit for everyone else's work, and laughing behind closed doors. And I'd been their little pet, fetching coffee while they skimmed thousands from the company and buried my career. I had taken down Wade. But now, I realized, the rot went deeper. And if I wanted real revenge, I had one more thing to do. I could have stopped there. Wade was gone. Lyle was being investigated. Marcy had vanished. HR called me a whistleblower and said I'd likely get some kind of internal reward. They told me to be patient, to keep quiet, to let the company clean house. But I wasn't satisfied. Because even after all that, nobody had said the truth out loud. That I'd been overlooked, disrespected, and mocked for years while 3 people above me played their dirty games. Nobody apologized. Nobody admitted they'd laughed at Wade's joke that night because deep down, they all thought it too. I needed something more. Not just justice. I needed to flip the power. So I went public. I didn't do anything illegal, I didn't share private company info. But I did write an anonymous post on LinkedIn. I told a story, very carefully worded, about a woman working in a mid-sized marketing firm in Texas. A woman mocked at a company party. A woman who exposed fraud and abuse and was still waiting for a thank you. The post didn't say names. But people who worked there? They knew. It blew up. Hundreds of likes. Dozens of comments. People guessing. People sharing their own stories. Sounds like my old job. Good for her. I worked under a guy like that. Scum. Suddenly, the company had a PR problem. Quiet HR investigations turned into damage control. And that's when the CEO, who had once walked past me for years without knowing my name, asked to meet with me. He called me into his office, shut the door, and offered me a seat. He didn't waste time. I know you wrote the post. I didn't deny it. I just looked at him. He sighed. You've caused a stir. No, I said, calm. Wade caused a stir. Lyle helped stir it. I just told the truth. He nodded, slowly. You've done this company a huge favor. We want to make it right. And just like that, he offered me a promotion. Not a new assistant title. Not some consolation prize. He offered me operations manager, Marcy's old job. Full pay bump. Full benefits. Real authority. I should have felt proud. I should have been grateful. But here's the thing, I hesitated. Because I realized something else. I had also made a mistake. For years, I let them get away with it. I kept quiet. I took the coffee orders. I cleaned up the messes. I said thank you when Wade gave me scraps of fake praise. And when that party happened, I wasn't brave, I just broke. It shouldn't have taken that long. I looked at the CEO and said, I'll take the job. But I want something in writing, clear, formal protections for anyone who reports workplace abuse. Anonymous, protected, no fear of retaliation. He looked surprised. But after a pause, he nodded. We'll make it happen. Wade didn't land on his feet. Turns out the company decided to press charges. Fraud. Falsifying records. He pled down, but he lost everything. His wife filed for divorce. His new job fell through. Word got out. Lyle? Still under federal investigation last I heard. His accounts were frozen. 2 of his rental properties went into foreclosure. Marcy didn't go to jail, but she's not working in finance anymore. She moved out of state. Quietly. And me? I took that new job. I hired a new assistant. Someone smart, capable. I make sure they know they're valued. Sometimes I still think about that night. About the laughter. About how I smiled when he said, "Where's my favorite assistant going?" And I remember that smile. Because I wasn't walking away. I was walking straight toward the fire. And I burned every last part of his fake little empire to the ground.